So when I got clean, I was kind of looking to find out if my near-death experiences had been strictly hallucination or if there was more to it, right? And through certain practices around yoga nidra, deep meditative relaxation, and the breath work as a foundational tool, accompanying that with binaural beats and music, binaural induction music, I've had some successes in leaving my body and confirming for myself that we are actually spiritual beings having a human experience.
Love it. Hi there. Welcome back, or welcome to Recovering Out Loud podcast, the show where we get real about mental health and addiction. I'm so glad you're here. If you or someone you love is struggling with drugs or alcohol, please reach out for help. Send me a message on all social media platforms at Recovering Out Loud Pod, or by email at recoveringoutloudpod@gmail.com. You are no longer alone. So you're going to U of T coming up.
I am.
What kind of studies are you doing there exactly? You want to describe? I'm very intrigued about this breath work thing because I've used it recently and it was a very powerful experience, right? And I think we can do a lot of healing through breath work. Prayer and meditation, very similar things in my experience. I was always taught prayer is talking to God, higher power, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And meditation was listening, right? So what's the schooling about and why are you so passionate about it, man? Because it fires me up too, just listening to you talk about it.
Okay, well, I know that the breath is the only autonomic system within the body that we can control, right? And I decided to go to U of T, basically for certification purposes, right? Like speaking with my sponsor, who's actually an accredited Tibetan meditation instructor for many years. He told me that I didn't really need to go to a breathwork school per se, but U of T would be a good fit for me around the certification. So I'm attending the Mindfulness Meditation Foundations course, which is the prerequisite for any expansion into that, into that academic study, right? So when I got clean, I was kind of looking to find out if my near-death experiences had been strictly hallucination or if there was more to it, right? And through certain practices around yoga nidra, deep meditative relaxation, and the breath work as a foundational tool, accompanying that with binaural beats and music, binaural induction music, I've had some successes in leaving my body and confirming for myself that we are actually spiritual beings having a human experience.
Love it. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I loved hearing that sentence, term, whatever you want to call it, because I find that to be true today. And that to me is completely evidenced by, fuck, dude, I can make a bad situation out of anything, right? Like I'll tell somebody a problem, just a small example. I'll tell somebody a problem I have and they're like, dude, it's really not that bad, Or yesterday I'll have a really bad day and then the same thing can happen to me a year later and it's not that bad. And I'm putting a complete spin. I'm projecting a movie onto it and based on where I'm at in life. And it's like, yeah, like I'm having a human experience, but then there's other situations, other times in my life where just unexplainable shit will happen, right? One, I don't know, me not dying, from the amount of drugs that I was doing or me not ending up flipping a car when I was driving, right? And DUIs and killing people. There's a reason for that, right? I don't know. I find that there's a lot of spiritual experiences, God winks, if you will, that happen in my life today that I'm just like, it can't be a coincidence. You know what I mean?
I do agree. I mean, like from a lot of my research into these topics and my personal experience, I almost feel today like we cannot jump the queue when it comes to our experience here. We come into this third density experience blindfolded. And we as human beings are the only animals on the planet capable of ascending our consciousness, right? Where some people will say things like, oh, I want to come back as a butterfly, or I want to come back as a bird. Well, not really, because by then you're still going to have to come back again as a human to ascend your consciousness, to reunite with source. To reunite with source in the third density is to ascend to consciousness, right? So as we ascend to consciousness into fourth density, and we start to know that there is a path that we're walking, to start to know that there is a divinity, a spark of the divine within the human body. I liken it to being a snowflake. Some people will say that here we are, the drop on the other side were the ocean, and that's valid, but I like to prefer to say that here we are like a snowflake, an individual fractal representation of the water that grants us life and keeps us alive in this little reality, this dream that we call reality, or this this state that we're frozen in for a short time.
And exactly, that's what I was going to say. Is it's a short time, right? And we don't know if we have tomorrow, right? And that's why all these cheesy sayings that you hear when you come in, one day at a time, and just for today, and the things that really pissed me off when I came in the beginning, they're really helpful and really true, because I even got a bracelet on me that says one day at a time, because I'll go through moments in my life where I'm like, this is never going to end, right? This is never going to end. My life is hard, blah, 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 all this bullshit that again, spinning this story. And I'll just look down and I'll remember. It's like, dude, just don't drink today, right? And it'll be okay. That's a successful day to me today, because I don't know about you, but I couldn't put 5 minutes together of sobriety before, right?
Well, for me, I'm what my doctor calls a legacy patient. Okay, so I started using around the age of 11 regularly. I remember crawling out of my crib as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, going around to my parents were all sleeping, the people had been partying or whatever, and I'd go around and I'd steal the little half beers that were left over from the night before, and I would drink them, as a child, a baby, and until the first time when I got one full of cigarette butts, and I drank it.
Ooh.
And I spit it out, and then from there I learned how to pour it into a glass, So by the time I was 11, 12 years old, I was from a broken home, and my mother was, she was suffering from alcoholism. She was not a spiritual person or into any type of recovery programs. God knows she was trying, but things were difficult, And the neighborhood where I grew up was predominantly Jamaican neighborhood, so ganja was, it was just available. It was just there. It was a normal part of everyday life.
Yeah.
Nobody looked at it in any funny way. And we started smoking weed, after a few years of that, going in and out of juvenile facilities, right? Becoming a Crown Ward for a few years. Upon my release at the age of 16, I moved to the UK for about a year, a little bit less than a year, where I picked up booze full time, right? I came back. When I got back, did a little more time, met a few more friends, ended up doing getting into some serious street level crime, organized, whatever. And that's when I found cocaine. I had been, as a child, a young lad, I'd been diagnosed as ADHD. And I'm not so sure that diagnosis was accurate, because crystal meth gets me freaking high, right? It gets me really high.
Same.
So it's they were pumping me full of speed from the age of maybe 7, 8 years old to about 11, 12 years old. And then they yanked it from me, right?
That's Ritalin or whatever, prescription.
And that's when I found cocaine, and bada boom, bada bing, that was it, right? I was off to the races. And then, it's a progressive fatal illness, and nature versus nurture, moral deficiency versus sickness. It's all the same thing, really, by the end of the day, right? It's going to be a mixture for each individual, I feel.
So you mentioned, you had a rough upbringing, childhood. Alcohol was sort of always around. And what, do you remember that moment? I'm sure you do, but what was the moment like where you were brought to your knees and you sort of said, I'm done?
Well, which time?
Yeah,
You know,
same.
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like there was a time my baby brother had just gone to a rehab center up in Sundridge. It was for construction guys. He was in the union. And he came home and he was doing really well. You know, he'd stopped using alcohol. He was doing the marijuana maintenance back then, and he was still struggling. But I had given myself a overdose from shooting cocaine, and he came to see me and he was upset. And I just, I pulled up my sleeve and said, "Look, bro, look what's going on here." And he's like, "No, no more." Sends me up to the rehab facility. So I was willing, and it was an AA program, and I remember going to the meetings and getting clean for about 30 days, 60 days. I didn't complete the program, and I didn't take to it. I didn't surrender, you know. I came out of there, went on about living my life. Maybe a year or so down the road, ended up back in the joint. I remember calling them from the Don jail, like, "Yo, can you guys get me back in the program?" And they're like, "Dude, you are a hardcore drug addict. We do not have the tools for you. You need a 2-year program." And I was like, "Yeah, 2 years, or I only got to do a couple months here, so forget it, right?" So I, I just shut it out, right? I wouldn't go. I continued to do what I was doing until down the road, I was using a lot of OxyContin. That was probably the first time I really got sick. When I got sick off of opium, I looked in the mirror. I said, "How was I ever addicted to cocaine?" I just did not. I was like, "Wow, this is what addiction is. This is addiction." Right?
Wow. Yeah.
I was sick and really, really dying. A girlfriend of mine who, at the time, she had gone on to the methadone program, and she got me to go. So I started taking the methadone program, from which I did eventually, after 3 years or so, I was able to, and this is without any 12-step help, right? This is just white knuckling, as they say, or trying to do it on my own, or using that I'm sober enough mentality, right? Where I'm taking the methadone, after a few years, I'm getting my carries, I'm smoking reefers, I'm drinking beer, but I'm still involved with, with sex trade workers and gang members and drug dealing and so on and so forth. Living a life of guns and large amounts of dope. So what happened there? I had about 6 years where I was living like that. I had all my carries. I felt like I'm sober enough. It's okay. There's no issues. I can do what I got to do. And then my lady at the time, she went into my safe and she stole just the tiniest little drop of my methadone carry, and she put herself into a coma. I woke up that morning beside her, and she was blue, and she was not breathing very well at all. I bit the bullet, called the ambulance, got her rushed to hospital, followed her there, went into the hospital with her, where the doctor says to me, "Listen, man, don't hang around here. You're just scaring people." And I mean, I was honestly quietly praying to myself in the corner as I'm watching them cut her clothes off and rip her wide open in front of everybody and hitting her with the things and such. And he's like, "Just go home and prepare yourself, because when you get back here in the morning, she might not be with us." And I'll tell you something. I was really I was in a sick place, and I says to the doctor, I says, "Okay, doc, I'll go home and I'll prepare myself. But if I come back here in the morning and she's not breathing, doc," I said, "you, sir, you'll be dead by fucking breakfast." And he looked at me funny and tilted his head like a puppy does when it doesn't understand you. I says, "Oh, because I'll fucking kill you." I told the man, I said, "I'll fucking kill you. I'll come back here about 7:15, 7:20, when you're having your toast and melon in the cafeteria. I'll take out a handgun and I'll empty it into your face and chest like nothing happened. Then I'll drop it and walk away." And he looked at the police and the firefighters that were all over the place and kind of gave me a look like, and I said, "Go ahead, pal. go ahead, go right ahead. I says, you can have me arrested now, but then in the morning time, you're gonna have to deal with my friends, and they're not gonna be polite like me. So I left. I took my leave, and I didn't jump off the wagon, bro. I high dived. I did a super triple backflip, face first off the wagon, and head straight to a bar where I ordered a bottle, and then straight back to my place of residence where I proceeded to abuse drugs. I went back in the morning, armed, and she was there breathing on a machine. She was in a coma. The doctor was nowhere to be found, but she was breathing. So he had, he kept his end of the deal, I guess. And I stayed as long as I could. They sent me home. I went home, and I just proceeded to dig myself deeper and deeper and deeper until finally she came out of the coma about 10 days later, where the police were there when she woke up, and the only question they had was, where did you get the drugs? By the grace of God, she told the truth, that she had stolen them, and the murder investigation that they would launched was, it ended. They were no longer under the impression that I had tried to kill my wife, which was nice, for me, but it still left me in a place where I wanted to get back on the wagon, but I physically couldn't. I just couldn't. I had a friend of mine, he's passed away now. He was a big drug dealer in the Jamaican community in the Brampton area. And he used to say to me, Mikey, man, he says, why? I don't even know why you don't go on the wagon. You run beside it all day long, because I went back to methadone. I tried to kick the drugs, and I would just use the crack cocaine until I couldn't see straight, right? And around them times, my baby brother was diagnosed with 4th stage lymphoma, cancer of the lung. And there's not usually too many happy endings with that story. And I'm gonna talk to you guys here honestly, and I'm gonna tell you what I did. I ended up in a really bad state where I was using opium derivatives, liquid morphine, Oxycontin, heroin, fentanyl, and crack cocaine, literally by the fucking quarter pound. I had no shortage of narcotics availability to me, and every time I would try to sleep, the only thing I could think of was my baby brother's got the cancer, and I can't do nothing about it. Every time I fell asleep, I would have intense nightmares around this situation. Every time I woke up, the only thought in my head was my baby brother's got the cancer, and I can't do anything about it. I went to speak to my family to go visit him in the hospital, where my mother begged me not to come, saying that him seeing me in that state would probably kill him, because he was trying so hard to be clean, and it would probably bring him down, and we had to keep his hopes up and so forth. So that was not very good. No connection to family, really.
That's tough.
Yeah. So at that time, I got really, really low, bro. It was really bad. It was desperation. It was destitution. It was, well, maybe not destitution. I mean, I had a roof over my head and sneakers on my feet and all that stuff, but I was spiritually destitute. You know what I'm saying? So I decided to take my own life. I decided to stop sleeping first. Because I couldn't, and I would use the junk. Every time I would use the crack cocaine, okay, and I would use it and use it and use it to stay awake. And every time I ran out of crack cocaine, I would stick a big shot into my arm, and it would bring me down enough that I could wait to get more crack cocaine. I would use the more crack cocaine until it ran out, and then again another shot, and so on and so forth. This went on for about 12 to 14 days without any sleep. By the end of it, I'm obviously in psychosis, and
you're seeing all types of shit.
Yeah, I was like, I had a near-death experience before this, where I found myself outside of my body, inside of a nightclub, where while my body was on the ground and I'm standing there looking at myself, I couldn't pull my foot out of my body. I realized, oh, I'm not really dead. I'm just mostly dead. So I start telling my body, hey, yo, just wake up, just wake up. And the bouncer comes over and I see him pick up my body from the ground, and I can hear this guy in his head. He's like, I'm going to beat this guy and throw him out the back door. And then he picks me up. He knows it's me. He's like, oh, not this guy. It's not this asshole. I'm not even supposed to fucking be here today. He's like that. And I'm just whispering to my body. I'm like, yo, just wake up, just wake up. But in reality, I guess my body was responding to what I was doing, because it starts screaming at him, telling him to wake up, just wake up, just wake up. And luckily the guy knew me, and whether he liked me or not is debatable, but he dragged me to the front and threw me into a chair where I landed, and that's when I regained back into my body. That was when I lost all fear of death. I realized that our consciousness does exist outside of the body, that we're just connected to the body. But I didn't really understand it. I couldn't articulate it. It took me a long time to wrap my head around it. So as day 12, day 14 is going by in this harsh time, and this dark time in our lives, I believed that I was conversing with deities. I believed that the guides that had brought me back to the third density were able to hear my thoughts, and that I could communicate with them. Yeah. And I tried to make a deal, and I says, in exchange for my niece to never suffer a day in her life, to never have to go through what we've been through, I will leave this reality now. I will join you on the other side. I will serve you until till eternity, until there's no more eternity. And then I consciously and willingly took a shot 3 or 4 times the regular dosage that I was used to, knowing what that would do. I then waited for my girlfriend at the time, she's the same girl who had been in the coma. I waited for her to come in and out of the house, because she was on crystal meth, and I knew that she would be in and out of the house 5-6 times before she actually left for the day. So 5 times, 6 times, no problem. Okay, bye, baby. Yeah. No, nothing. Stuck that shit in my arm, and I laid down, and I was ready to go, thinking I had pulled a fast one. Pulled a trick on the guides or the devil or whatever. As the curtains began to close, I didn't feel any fear. I didn't feel any remorse. I didn't feel any shame or desire. I felt like I was going home. I felt warm. I felt not alone, until the very last thought in my mind. I guess I blacked out, and I was, my consciousness was transported, I guess, to a possible future where I was given a vision of the mess that I was leaving behind. And I did not like it. I became, the only emotion that I had at that time was sheer unadulterated anger and disgust with my own greed, my own selfishness, my own ignorance, and my own lack of fundamental respect for life. And I lived with that for a long time. I was I didn't see Jesus, I didn't see Buddha. There was something there with me. It was massive. It was big as a building. It didn't have no face. It just had a presence. It was there. It showed me this future that I was appalled by. And before I could even beg to be sent back or asked if I wanted to go back, I opened my eyes and I'm in the hospital with the nurses running around. He's breathing, the machines and the beeping and all the rest of it. And I turned to the girl and I says to her, what the fuck, I'm not dead? And she's like, no, baby, you're here with me, I'm like, well, how long was I? It was 18 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. It was wild, man.
How did you get to the hospital?
There was some kids in my house that were in and out of the house all the time. And I had actually Narcan, 10 of them over the years. And she actually did something, brought her back into the house that day, because she came in from wherever she was going, came in, found me on the floor, convulsing, blue, not breathing. And the story goes that she started screaming at these kids, yo, he saved each and every one of you. Save him, save him, save him. They proceeded to Narcan me, no response. They got the needle Narcan, hit me with it. Got me on my feet. And I remember every time that I had Narcan any one of them, I had 3 questions for them. Do you know who I am? Do you know your name? Do you know where you are? If they could answer those questions, I would say, look, you want to go to the hospital or not? It's up to you, right? If they could not answer those questions, then off to the hospital they would go. So I have no memory of this. I have no memory of it whatsoever. But apparently they got me on my feet, asked me those questions, and I started yelling at them. I saying something like, just ask them. They're right there. They've seen the whole effing thing. Just ask them. And apparently I'm pointing over their shoulders at the bedroom wall where I had every prayer card and newspaper article and photograph of all the friends that I had lost up to that point. I have no memory of it, but this is what they told me. So they realized that I was not there, lights on, nobody's home. They put me into a car, and the young lady, she that was driving, she drove into oncoming traffic to get me to the hospital, save my life. She did. Young lady, she's a good friend. I'm in recovery now, so I haven't been in contact with her or the other kids.
They're still out there?
They're unfortunately still out there, as far as I know, yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible, man. I always look at those stories and, like, for things to line up, it's like, now you have a choice, right? It's like, I can go back to that life. Every day you have a choice. I can go back to that life and keep doing what I was doing, or I can choose this life of recovery and be of service. And you're doing that with what you're telling me, but also the breathwork stuff and becoming a teacher, essentially, right? So it's beautiful, man. It's amazing. How long ago was that?
Oh, that would have been about 10 years ago now. I mean, I it's not like I stopped using at that point. I mean, I got out of the hospital and immediately needed a hit because I was sick, and I was using in the hospital parking lot. I got back to my place there, and at the time, some friends of mine and myself were under investigation for some stuff. I'm not going to get into that end of it, but the police were raiding my home like clockwork every 6 months, just boom, boom, boom. It got so bad the apartment owners were refusing to fix the door, so I had about a foot missing off the top of my door in the apartment, and this had been going on for some time. So once I finally was able to get back onto the methadone program after that experience, I moved my apartment to another building where I ended up getting arrested on a gun charge. It was just a mess, right? So after that, I left that building because I was released on bail, but not allowed to go home, right? It wasn't domestic, but it was I guess the informants lived in the building. So they gave me bail, but they wouldn't let me go back within whatever. So I ended up going into hotels, and dragging that. And this is like right around COVID time started, right? So I'm clawing tooth and nail to stay on the methadone program and get myself together, which about a year I was living like that, and I was able to get my head above water for a short period of time. When the COVID got really bad, I was able to get a trailer, like a really nice,
RV,
brand new trailer, and move it out into the west, by the border of Marine City in Michigan, and a place called Walpole Island, in Ontario. It's a reserve in between, like just before Windsor, basically half an hour to Windsor kind of thing. And when I got into the trailer, I was on the program. I was doing okay. I thought I was doing okay, right? I'm smoking reefer and on the program. I wasn't drinking booze. I wasn't using coke. I wasn't using smack. I was just getting my carries and trying to live my life, Times got tough again. After that, I lost connection to my family. I got into arguments with my mother and her husband. I lost contact with my brother. Things were getting, things progressively got worse, right? Because that's what happens, if you don't stay abstinent. You may feel like you're in control, but you're not. We're not, because our brains are not wired that way when we're using, right? Our reward system is all fucked up. And the only thing we can bring into our lives is more misery and more trauma and more sorrow. You know what I mean? So as time was going by, things were getting progressively worse. Police got my location out there, and I was raided again. This time, they caught me cold. They got me cold. They got me with a bag of firearms and parts, and a pack of fentanyl, where by the grace of God, by the grace of something outside of myself, something better than me, something a higher power, they raided my home this time using the informant's address. So I was released on my own recognizance from this incident, and the next day they sent an informant asking me if I would sell him some guns, and I knew what they were doing. I kind of laughed and said, "Buddy, you're a day late and a dollar short." You know what I'm saying? The police were here last night. They took them off, so fuck off, right? So he kicks rocks. So and after that, it really got bad because I was trying to hide the fact that I'd been arrested again, and I'd lost connection to everybody. I wasn't talking to my friends. I wasn't talking to the guys that I did crime with. I wasn't talking to my brother. He wouldn't let me see his kids. My cousin got into recovery, and he wouldn't speak with me. And my other cousin, who's unfortunately still out there, him and I were on, sparse talking terms. I lost connection to the girl that I was living with. The only connection I had was to the drug and to the dog, After a few weeks after they raided my home and took the guns, the informant was actually my neighbor. He decided he was going to pump 18 rounds of buckshot into my home while I was sleeping, missing me but hitting my girl, and she was okay, right? She's fine, but after that, she couldn't sleep in that place anymore.
Sure.
And even though I wouldn't act as a witness, I was a hostile witness. I told them, how do I know who shot the place? Where I come from, you don't stick your head out the window when there's bullets flying at you. For all I know, it was you guys. The cops didn't like that too much, but they did their own investigation, and apparently the neighbor was charged with the attempt murder ×2. Which he eventually, I guess, pled guilty to. I don't know. I didn't follow the case, but I couldn't live in there anymore. The place was shot to shit, and then the police destroyed it while they were doing their investigation, right? Trying to find some more of my shit, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. So, excuse me. It was back to hotels, back to renting rooms, back to just progressively worse and worse and worse. Until I guess then I just decided, I that's right around the time I was ready to give it up. I mean, I was able to stop drinking. I was able to stop using cocaine, but I just could not kick the fucking opium. Yeah. I just couldn't kick it. No matter what I did, I couldn't do it. So I ended up getting, I was leaving that area to come into the city here to pick up a package, which I was planning on distributing, obviously. I ended up getting popped on my way out of town from there. Thank God again, by the grace of God, because had I gotten popped on my way into town, it would have been a mess. I was arrested with a replica firearm and a bulletproof vest. A half ounce of crystal methamphetamine in my pocket that went straight into the suitcase. And when I was weighed in the jail, I was weighed in at 130 pounds, soaking wet. Right, I was dying.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you're like 6'3", 6'4"?
I'm 6'1", 195 pounds today.
Jeez.
Yeah. So 130 pounds soaking wet with a bag of change in my pocket. That is when I still wasn't ready to give it up. I knew that the case with the raid was bogus. They didn't find the drugs on me during this arrest. It was another weapons charge, concealed, but it was a replica firearm. It wasn't loaded. I hadn't pulled it on anybody. You know, the bulletproof vest was not exactly illegal. So I'm thinking in my head, yeah. Well, actually, to be honest, I wasn't thinking anything in my head. I wasn't thinking anything except I need some fucking opium. I was
Yeah.
placed into a cell. Luckily for me, it was a guy that I knew from the streets. He'd been in there for a little while. I pop up the package. I lasted maybe 24 or 48 hours before I was just done. I ended up giving away that package of dope and being taken to the infirmary, where I spent 10 days, rocking and rolling, rattling,
Detoxing, yeah. Oh,
detoxing,
Jesus.
hallucinating,
Yeah.
absolutely hallucinating. I remember sitting in my own private hospital room cell with the hospital bed and my own television, and I was watching a television program called The Nonas, but it wasn't a cooking show, bro. It was about this organized crime family out of Cleveland that was burying bodies in a cemetery. This show doesn't exist. I
Oh,
watched 7 episodes of it. Okay, and it's a miniseries. I watched 7 episodes of a
you,
non-existent program.
you literally created your show.
I was out of my fucking mind.
Oh,
I
that's
was out of my
hilarious.
mind.
I can
Okay,
relate. Yeah.
so but by the grace of God, they kept me there, and I just I called my baby brother. I says, look, I need you to move a little bit of money around for me for my accounts. He's like, whatever, buddy, you're an asshole. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then after a couple more phone calls, he says, look, bud, do you want to live or do you want to die? And he offered to come and post my bail if I agreed to go to treatment. At first, I rejected his offer. No, no, sir. No, thank you. I will fucking do my time and continue to live like an asshole. Appreciate it. I love you, but no. A couple more phone calls, hey, this is your nephew you haven't met. Puts him on the phone with me, and talking to my stepdad, who I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and another friend of mine from here that has been a friend of mine, a lifelong friend of mine, and they were able to talk a little sense into me, and that was when I spoke to my nephew on the phone for the first time from the Windsor bucket with the option to, to move forward. I had maybe 10 days away from my last use. I was getting my Suboxone from the guys in the jail, not the guards,
Yeah.
not the doctors. They refused They refused to treat me. They were aware that I had smuggled a package into the joint. They just didn't catch me with it. So they were not helping me out at all.
Yeah.
So I agreed. Gratefully agreed. And the arrangements were made. My baby brother traveled all the way out there to pick me up. Took me to a hotel for the night. It was like we hadn't skipped a beat. He was there for me. He was all the way there for me. He brought me home to his home, which he gives all the credit to the program. He credits the program with all of the things in his life today, and I love him. He's my brother. I love him. So he took me to the NA Orkna that month, I guess.
The conference.
Yeah, the conference was around that month, maybe a week or two since I had gotten released, and I went to Orkna, and I got a real taste of Narcotics Anonymous for the first time with an open mind, an open heart, and I remember saying to him, I says, bro, if it's between getting high and having you in my life, let's go, right? Let's do this. So I went to the detox program a couple of times. I was set up to go to a rehab facility that my buddy had suggested. He's friendly with the staff there, and the detox program was very good. It was the York Region Detox program. They were phenomenal. Right before, like 1 hour before I was to leave for that rehabilitation, the farm or whatever, they declined my my application. It was all set to go. I bought all the farm boots and all this stuff, and they're like, "No, we can't take him. Not with that ankle bracelet and Suboxone. No." okay, well, the universe has other plans for me,
Yeah.
right? So back to my brother's house, okay, back to Detox, back to Brian's, but I was clean, right? I was clean. After a little while, I had some, 60 days, 90 days from my last use. I'm on Suboxone, my dose is leveled out. Um, I'm, I'm going to program with my brother, he's taking me to NA. I'm not happy about it. I'm still not happy about it back at that time. I mean, I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be, but I wasn't yet. But I started to get that community. I started to get, hugs, not drugs. And I started to try to go into my mind. Like when I would go and I would hear the readings, I always had these resentments, these little quick little responses in my brain about this and that, these little arguments with the language and the literature. And after a while, I said, I'm going to just meditate through the preamble, to open up my system to be more receptive of the language instead of arguing with it. So I consciously, even till now, you might catch me in a meeting and during the preamble, you'll see me and I'm, and people may think I'm ignoring or I'm going somewhere else, but I'm not. I'm right there. I'm trying to sponge up that good stuff that the program has to offer, and just to rewire my own ideas and let go of those kind of resentments and stuff. So it's been helpful. It's definitely not hurtful. The anxiety, I used to get a high anxiety state when I would walk into the rooms, physical anxiety. But after using some other outside of the program ideologies around consciousness, neuroplasticity, and some of these other ideas, and implementing the yoga nidra practices and reality co-creation practices and stuff like this, which is for me it's a really fundamental part of my program, because I've been under house arrest for the past 16 months, right? And as much as my brother would love to take me to 90 and 90, he's got a job and 2 kids and a wife and a house and a life, so it's not really feasible. So I had to find other avenues of recovery, which is it's fine, it's no problem, right? I'm living the dream, So I like to find a combination. I like to take as many angles as I can get, and watch for the synchronicities, and then mold my recovery with balance.
Yeah, it's a good point though too. Is like I was always taught that humans will fail us eventually, right? No matter how much they care, no matter how much they'll show up for you. Yeah, I can't rely on a human for everything, right? And you mentioned it perfectly, is like, you got to turn to this power greater than yourself, right? Whether that's God, the universe, I don't care. As long as it's not me today, right? I can have my own conception of it. And it seems like at that time you were sort of forced into that. And now it's become a part of your life and your practice. I want to ask you, what do you think kept you out there so long using?
Well, I guess fear, shame, desire, no awareness around anything better. Once I got clean, I was watching a podcast. It's a guy called it's a co-creation podcast or a YouTube channel. Anyway, he had a guest on, and the thumbnail for the show was it says an angel in a human body, right? And I'm like, yeah, fuck off, right? Like, what are you talking about? And I was gonna just pass it over, right? But I really like this guy's stuff. Like, he's really good with what he does. So I says, okay, you know what? I'm gonna check it out. So I put it on, and this woman comes on, and she starts telling us how she's an angel in a human body, and she got her angelic name from the angelic realms, and she talks to her guides like we're talking to each other. And I'm about ready to turn it off, thinking she's a loon from the moon, right? And she starts telling my story. She starts telling my story. She starts telling us how she had a near-death experience as a child, I believe it was a drowning in her case. And she'd had an awakening at that time, and she came back different. And it was a hardship for her for many, many years. So she had turned to drugs and alcohol. And the key takeaway for me from her story was that we are conditioned here, especially in the West, to believe that the only way we can feel those high vibrations that alcohol and drugs bring, even though they're fake and they only last a short time and they come with a lot of harm, the only way we can feel those high vibrational frequencies is through drugs and alcohol. But that's the lie. It's the lie, right? We can feel those high vibrational frequencies through meditation, through wellness practices, through yoga, through just by raising our vibration, our inner vibration, our emotional state, and keeping it there. She was serious. Had it been in a 12-step meeting, I would have been, begging her to sponsor me. You know what I mean? I heard her story, and it was my story. It was just from a different perspective. And basically, what I was doing, what I didn't know I was doing at the time, but what I was doing was I was trying to reach that unconditional love that we come from, that we're headed to one day. And I was trying to have it here in the third density. And the only way I knew how to manufacture it was with drugs and alcohol. And that's what I was seeking. I was seeking death, not in a negative way. Death for me is not a negative thing. As sure as we're born, one day we're going to die. It's a natural process. It's a transition. It's not afterlife. It's just life. But it's not third density life. It's just life. It's just a transition. We don't really die. Our bodies die, but our consciousness exists outside of our bodies. And I mean, until somebody experiences it, I can't really tell them. I can't really I can't make them know. All I can do is share my experience, right? And for me, it's not a belief. It's a knowing through experiential, knowledge, right? It's experiential knowledge. It's a knowing from my experiences. Because, and I'll tell you this, because when I got clean, I was backtracking and second guessing my experiences. Was I really out of my body? Was my body dead and I was not? Was that real? Or was I just hallucinating from overdose? Fair question, right? That led me to really, obsessed is not the right word to use, but I was very highly motivated to learn the practices of these yogis and shaman and so forth, to be able to exit my body sober as a judge. And after about 8 months or 9 months of clean time, I had some limited successes. I don't really leave my body with intention. Like, I'm not going to come over to your house, see what you're watching on TV, and then call you in the morning and freak you out, right? It's not like that.
I saw you last night.
Yeah, it's not like that. But I have found myself, conscious that I'm sitting in my chair, conscious of my breath. But I open my eyes and I'm out in my backyard, looking in the window where I go to smoke, and I see myself in the backyard, and I can see and I go to take a drag of my smoke, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. I'm not smoking, I'm in my chair. And it's like, holy F, man, wow, right? And some other short experiences similar to that. It's not the same as dreaming. It does have a dreamlike quality. Near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and lucid dreaming, they're similar, but they're different in my experience. They've been very similar, but also very different. They have different tangible qualities to them. So with those experiences adding to my the confirmation for me that I am a spiritual being having a human experience, I continued to progress into lucid dream work, where you're in a REM sleep, but you light up your prefrontal cortex, and you wake up within your dream. At first, I would spend a lot of time flying around and striking things with lightning, like this God complex of mine that I got. And after a few sessions like that, it started to get boring. Well, why am I really doing this? So today, when I go into those states, I will take the time to ask the universe, what am I doing here? What am I supposed to be doing?
Mm.
You know, or I will find myself in some kind of horrible knife fight situation in a prison wall, and I'll realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm dreaming, and I'll jump over the wall and I'll just go meditate, you know, and it's brought me an insane amount of peace.
Mm.
You know, it's brought me to a point where I'm still early in my step work progress, where I it's unfortunate for me that I have so much of a stubborn, thick head, where I read the words, I see the language, I get frustrated, I still have these little arguments in my head. So I'm taking my time around doing my step work, you know, and as I'm moving forward with it, I'm finding a lot of questions around like things that seem to be like OCD related. I'm not very deep into it yet, so I'm not judging the whole book by the first, few questions. I myself, I don't like, I will obsess if I pick up. If I pick up and I got it in front of me, I will obsessively use it until it's gone or I'm dead.
Mm.
That's it. No problem. I get it. But I don't have those types of compulsive thoughts around anything else in my life. I never really have, and I don't see myself having them on a regular basis. So, and I think some of that is due, because I did, when I first got home, I did have some recurring thoughts of past experiences, traumas and less than preferable experiences that would pop into my head, especially during meditations. But I learned it's a skill, I learned how to allow those thoughts to drift away like clouds in the sky,
Yeah.
and return to focus of the breath, and to enter that vibrational state and listen for the space between thoughts, because I think that's where higher consciousness resides, and it's like you said, that's where we get the answers,
Yeah, and the direction, right? Yeah, I love that. What are sort of your like essentials in recovery daily? Like, what does that look like to you?
Well, I gotta make my bed.
Yeah,
I gotta get up. And
a lot of people laugh at that one, but it's true. I was taught that in treatment too. It's like you start off the day with doing one good thing.
Yeah, you get up, you make your bed. I definitely have to limit my exposure to negative content.
Mm.
I listen to conscious music. I generally watch only uplifting or like science fiction type of movies. I limit my exposure to negative content. I surround myself with people in recovery.
Mm.
I don't accept friend requests from people from my old Facebook account. I changed my Facebook account, new YouTube, new Instagram, all those things. When I do get the occasional contact from people from that spectrum, if they're not in recovery, and they want to see me, they have to come see me at a meeting. As much as I love them, it's not about them or their behavior. It's about me and my susceptibility to joining that behavior. Right?
It's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah. I'm also in a bit of a bubble though too, right? Like being under house arrest with the ankle monitor, I got a lot of help. I'm getting a lot of help, right?
Yeah.
I've met somebody in recovery, and she helps me a lot. She helps me. She's like my brother. She credits everything to her program, right? And I spend a lot of time talking to my cousin who's gone ahead from me in this program. My cousin, my brother, they work in the industry of recovery. The people that I surround myself with are good. They have good recovery people, And I also try to gravitate to newcomers too. If I see a newcomer, I'm extra with it, right? Like I will give them cigarette and I will give them my phone number. Whether they choose to call me or not, it's up to them. But those things are pretty key. A little bit of exercise, obviously, right, and lots of coffee.
Yeah, same.
Lots of coffee.
Same. Need something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. I'll ask you two last things and then we'll close it out, because it was good. I got a lot today. I appreciate you coming down, Mike. Thank you. What do you hope people get out of your story?
Well, anything that's going to help them, anything that can come from the horror shit show dumpster fire of my previous life, that can open the mind of the still suffering addict, or help to steer the course of the white knuckler, or to, even to engage an argument from somebody who doesn't see it my way. As long as we're engaging conversation and we're growing, you know what I mean? I'm here to give away what was freely given to me, and just raise the vibration, bro. I just want to raise people vibration.
I love it, man. And what's one thing that you would say to somebody struggling right now, maybe a newcomer?
Well, to a newcomer right now, as of today's date, bro, I'm going to give you guys this warning. I was talking to my doctor the other day, and as an ex-cook, he knows that I'm familiar with the derivatives and combinations that go into today's narcotics. And he was given an alert warning that the xylazine is no more. Today, we got to worry about nitrazine. And nitrazine makes carfentanil look like a fucking aspirin. And it's in everything. So even a legacy user like myself, who's survived it all, and can seem to punish myself over and over and over. I go out there today, I leave the studio, I go hit the gas station, I score from some guy I don't know, I'm a fucking dead man. So there is life after recovery. People love you, and you know what? If you don't believe me, come to the program, and I'll love you until you can love yourself.
Love it, man. Thanks so much, Mike, for coming down. I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.